U.S. President Donald Trump has unveiled his plans to begin construction of a new class of massive battleships. This as part of a broader effort to revive U.S. shipbuilding capacity, strengthen deterrence, and restore domestic manufacturing capacity. Trump says he has already approved a plan for the Navy to begin construction of 2 new battleships, immediately calling them the foundation of a new Golden Fleet. More in our next report.
U.S. President Donald Trump plans to build a new class of massive battleships. He calls it Golden Fleet for his golden era. These warships will bear the Trump insignia. This new generation of American battleships, bristling with new missiles, nuclear weapons, and lasers, are part of a broader effort to rebuild U.S. shipbuilding capacity, strengthen deterrence, and restore what he repeatedly describes as American military supremacy.
You know, you used to build the Iowa, the Missouri, the Wisconsin, the Alabama, many others. We had big battleships. These are bigger, but they will have 100 times they'll be 100 times the force, the power. And there's never been anything like these ships. These have been under design consideration for a long time.
Many U.S. ships are named after presidents, but the honor is usually reserved for leaders who have left office. Most of the U.S. aircraft carriers are named after former American presidents.
Battleships are the largest, sturdiest, and most heavily armed vessel built specifically for naval combat. While America has built many new warships over the years, they've tended to be smaller and much smaller, and not conducive to where we are and where we're going, and peace through strength.
This is not the first time that Trump is keen on being highly specific about military vessels. Trump has long taken an interest in the design and appearance of naval ships. During his first term as president, he criticized modern electromagnetic catapult systems on aircraft carriers and argued for a return to steam-powered systems. The announcement comes amid long-standing concerns within the U.S. defense establishment about shrinking shipyard capacity, aging fleets, and competition with China's rapidly expanding navy. Trump says building new warships would revive American shipyards, create thousands of jobs, and restore domestic manufacturing capacity. Trump boasts that he would be involved in the design along with the Navy because he is a very aesthetic person. The U.S. Navy has not built a new battleship since the mid-1990s, relying instead on aircraft carriers, submarines, and smaller surface combatants. All eyes are now on the Trump-class ships that are projected to take their place in the Golden Fleet as a maritime complement to the Golden Dome, the anti-missile shield that Donald Trump also envisages to protect the people of the new Golden Age that he says the country is currently enjoying. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Joining us live on the broadcast is Lincoln Mitchell, a political analyst and professor at the School of International and Public Affairs, SIPA at Columbia University. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on WION. Can you help us decode the significance and timing of this announcement by President Trump?
Well, the timing is that so we're not talking about David Epstein. The timing is so that we're not talking about the ongoing crisis of affordability. The timing is that we're not talking about people being kidnapped from the streets of the United States by Trump's new Gestapo. That is why he is doing this now. As far as the impact, Trump says a lot of things. And there's a long way between him giving an unhinged press conference and these ships being built. So I think at this point, we should wait and see a little bit. Also, once again, we see Donald Trump broadcasting his extraordinary insecurity to the world, right? So we're going to put Trump's name on these ships. That, what kind of person who has any kind of confidence in themselves, any kind of comfort in their own skin says we have to put my name while I'm alive, while I'm in office, on battleships? I mean, this is not a healthy man. We've seen this now for some time. Additionally, it is worth noting that many of the defense experts I talk to stress how where the United States is falling behind is with regards to drone warfare. And in fact, our focus on these big, heavy machines, ships and tanks and planes, overlooks how wars are being fought with drones now, and we're falling behind. Look at, for example, the terrible conflict in Ukraine.
Professor, you touched on this a little bit. How much of this plan is about real military necessity? Because there was a lot of context and a lot of information that the president shared, and then we also heard from Pete Hegseth as well, the defense secretary. I know you talked about some of it being about projecting strength, talking about politics, not talking about other things. But nonetheless, do you think America's allies and adversaries were watching very closely?
Well, everyone is watching very closely because everyone always watches very closely what the United States does. We should keep in mind that at the moment, in the last month or so, the United States has been illegally shooting people in the Caribbean and committing piracy on the high seas with regards to Venezuela. Now, with regards to threats to the United States, nobody is attacking the United States. The United States military, now, obviously, there's always the threats of terrorism and things like that, as we saw on September 11th, in 2001. But the United States military can defend the American people and its borders, and that was true. That's been true for decades now. So the question is, with regards to allies, whether it be Taiwan or our allies in Europe, and we still have the largest blue sea navy in the world, but China is becoming competitive. The question here is, who is our allies? So for most of the post-World War II era, Moscow was not an ally. But our president, Donald Trump, has now put the United States on Moscow's side. So if I were sitting in Europe, a European capital, I would look at these ships being built and say, these ships are being built by a president who has threatened 2 NATO countries. Just this week, he has sent a kind of a representative to Greenland, right? Denmark is a NATO ally, right? This is a NATO ally. He's threatened Canada, which is a NATO ally. So when we speak about allies, it's not clear who America's allies are. The alliances that for decades were central to America's national security and to our allies' national security are really being threatened by this president.
Professor Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us on WION. I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you.